What's up everybody, Superx fan here for another car review. This is of course the 1967 Ford Mustang 289 V8. Huge thanks to Brogan for hooking me up with this very awesome vintage car to review for you guys today. So, as some of you know, I'm a huge vintage car fan. I love them. I actually have a channel called The Vintage Car Fan where I talk about vintage cars and I love it. And this is just awesome. I mean, this is so iconic. Of course, I'm a Mustang fan. I own a 2015, but these classic ones, it's just what you're looking at here is an icon. I mean, this is the 67 model, which has a slight restyling from the original 65s, but they had to restyle them. One of the reasons was because they made 1.3 million 65 and 66 Mustangs, and they said that the dies for the body panels were worn out after 1.3 million copies. So they had to go back to the drawing board and redo them a little bit. But I think it looks great. Honestly, I think it's one of the best car designs ever. You just have these long flowing lines, the long pronounced hood. It's a friendly yet aggressive look there in the front as well, and you have the classic pony corral there, and the back end I love too. I mean, this is when they really defined the tri-bar tail lamps there, and they're actually concave, which is so cool and something that really hasn't been repeated since on the Mustangs, and I love that. I think they're really cool to have the concavity, and just the proportions. It's so funny, these are so small compared to the newer ones, and it's such a cool car. Like I said, they literally made millions of these, so it's amazing, and I absolutely love them. Right, so for the interior of the 67 Mustang, it's super cool. I recommend anyone that's, a car person, sit in an old classic car. It really gives you perspective on how far we've come, and it makes you appreciate certain things. But first thing, I haven't done this in a while, but this is that door slam. It's so solid, and everything in this car, it's actual real metal. Everything these days in modern cars is plastic that looks and kind of feels like metal, but it's not real metal. This stuff, it's all real metal. All the handles and everything, all the little switches, and it's a very bare bones, basic kind of car, but it's great. So, this one actually, you could get the Mustangs back then, you could customize them so much to make them exactly how you wanted. There was some that were more luxurious. It could be a personal luxury car, it could be a bare bones racer. You could have it exactly how you wanted it. This one doesn't have the center console, for example. You just have the radio hanging here off of the dashboard, and that's it, and you just have the carpeted floor. But so anyway, first things first, sitting down in these seats. So we have these bucket seats that bucket is a loose term that it's basically a bench that they cut the middle part out of, because the side bolstering is very, very low. Again, this is a 50-year-old car basically, so I'm not going to critique it. It's super cool. The bolsters here, obviously no support, you have no headrest, and your upper back, forget it. But it's totally fine, because you can just, it's just so comfy. I love it. Anyway, so yeah, and they're soft too. This black vinyl is very smooth and really great. Next is the steering wheel in the 67 Mustang, which is pencil thin and is super cool though. Again, real metal bits here by the horn and all that stuff. And you have a little bit of padding here so you don't get impaled too bad if you decide to run into something. But yeah, it's no airbag, of course, so that's really tiny and very cool. And then the gauges in the Mustang are very cool as well. So you have a speedometer, and you have a red line there at 70 miles per hour, and that's it. You have the speedometer and no tachometer. That was an option, and this car does not come with that option, but you have an oil pressure gauge and an alternator gauge there. You have a temperature for your coolant there, and a gasoline fuel level gauge, of course, and you have a clock in the middle. And here's another thing about old school craftsmanship, is just you can just listen to that clock ticking away, and it's awesome. I mean, but everything, all the controls are metal. I mean, the heater controls that are over here on the left are all metal and feel really hefty and, substantial. And you have wiper controls up here that are, that's a metal thing there. And, the knobs for everything is just, it feels so cool. And you have your basic, AM radio here, and that's it. And, super cool. And then that's it. There's really not a whole lot else. You got a little glove box, and you got your shifter here. And floor shifters, this was still, pretty new thing to have floor shifters, and so that's awesome to have that instead of something on the column. But yeah, there's really nothing else in here. It's just that. You have all the cool little touches like these smokers windows that will fold out and are very cool. And Yeah, it's such a cool car. And this one, I want to just mention very briefly the story, because that's the great thing about classic cars, is they have history and story to them. This one has 39,000 original miles, and it's been in the family for its entire life. It was sold by the family, and it's been in the cars. The car has been in the family for almost its entire life. There was a brief period where it had a different owner, but then it came back into the family. So this car, they've really seen it from the very beginning, from showroom floor to now, and it's been preserved extremely well. I'd like to also add, everything is all original in here, aside from, you know, the tires that are updated, but it's basically just exactly the way it's been over the past 50 years, which goes to show just how well they're built. That after 50 years, it still looks this good. Everything still works for the most part. Everything is just held up so well, and it's really impressive. So the back seat in the Mustang is actually more roomy, I would say, than the back seat in the current Mustang, and which is funny because this is such a smaller car. But you know, there's actually a good amount of legroom back there. You got a good amount of headroom with the way the roof's cut out, and the greatest thing is there's no latch. The seat just goes up, and you just let people in nice and easy. So it's easy to get in and out of the back, but obviously not the safest either. Trunk space in the Mustang is actually very spacious. You can fit lots of stuff in there. Several pairs of golf clubs fit in there with ease, and a very usable trunk as well. Alright, so start up and go for a drive. Of course, 1967, you gotta have a good old key, and so you just slip that in. It's a long reach here, and it starts right off. Alright, so setting off in the 1967 Ford Mustang. I should add, this is the first time I've ever driven a classic car. I've ridden in two before, but I've never driven one. And so first thing you notice, okay, lots of turns on this steering wheel to get it to turn. And just driving in a straight line revolves little corrections, and it's obviously very imprecise, very loose, but that is quite alright because it's very cool. Brakes are also very touchy. Of course, we have no ABS, none of that stuff. So it says you hit the brake and you hit it too hard and your car lurches. If you go nice and easy, then you have nice and easy braking. So back to basics here. It's really cool. So anyway, just cruising down the road here, though it's a very smooth and comfortable ride. Like I said, it does wander a little bit, so you got to make sure you're keeping it going in a straight line. You kind of got to pay attention. But yeah, it's I mean, you know, feels eerily similar to mine in some ways, though, just cruising down the road and whatnot. Alright, so this is an old girl, so we're not gonna torture her too much here, but let's give it a little gas and see how it does. Alright, so it's actually getting up pretty good here, I gotta say. So, and then it wanders a little bit, so you gotta make your corrections here. It's definitely a floaty ride. It's actually a full-time job just keeping it going in a straight line, just because it likes to drift and wander around. So that's an experience. Anyway, the power, well, obviously I'm not peeing my pants over it, but it's really good, you know? I mean, so this is a 289 V8 engine. Now, it's not a GT, because the GT back then was just a trim package. It didn't mean that you got the V8. So this, you know, is just a standard Ford Mustang with a V8 option on it. And so the 289 came in 3 different versions here for 67. There was just different compression ratios, essentially, that gave you more horsepower. It ranged from 200 horsepower to 271 horsepower. I asked the owner, he's not sure which compression ratio this one has. It's all original. Again, he's never torn it apart or anything. So we're dealing with somewhere between 200 and 271 horsepower. Either way, it's a healthy amount for a car that's as light as this is. Back then, you know, these are, you know, heavy duty in the way they were made, but there's not much to them, so they're fairly light. And so other things, though, I gotta mention, visibility is great because you got, you know, lots of glass and very thin A-pillars and stuff. Again, it's not the safest, but it's very cool nonetheless. And another little acceleration. Pretty good too, you know. This doesn't have any kind of aftermarket exhaust, but you can hear that little, you know, burble of the V8, and it sounds really good. It's just, I'm amazed how much correction you need to keep it going in a straight line. It's so funny. Going around a roundabout here, and you know, it's actually, it handles pretty decently. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it, of course, because of how much correction it takes just to go in a straight line. But, you know, there's not an abundance of body roll or anything. It's, you know, fairly sporty feeling. It's just, it's a whole different feeling. It's uncomparable to anything by modern standards that I've ever driven. It's so unique. Lots of turns, and lots of turns back, and we're straight again. Okay, so yeah, this is so fun though. And see, that's the thing, that's what's great about classic cars, is you don't have to go 500 miles an hour to have fun in it. I'm having fun just keeping the car going in a straight line and cruising down the road, and it's just a cool experience. I mean, other things, you know, this is, I believe, a 3-speed automatic transmission, so, you know, obviously not going to be shifting very fast, but it does have this select shift automatic, so you have an option to go to 2 or to go to 1. If you so desire, and you know, it's the same as what you see in any kind of modern car that has a similar setup, and yeah, I mean, it works well, it shifts, you know, there's no lurching, it's smooth in the way that it operates, and that's what they really were going for back then, is comfort and refinement, and they really achieved that with this transmission. Alright, so I've been driving this now for a little while longer here, and kind of got my confidence up in it a little bit more, because at first it like rocks your world, like, in your whole perception and idea of how you drive a car, kind of, because it's just, you have to do so much more in this, and it takes skill to be smooth in this car, you know, like the brakes and stuff, you know, with no assistance and stuff. It's just, you have to be very delicate with your brake inputs so that you're not just, like, you know, being jumpy with it and stuff. And same thing with the steering, you know, you got to be delicate and precise with it so that you don't, you know, make the car sway all over the place and keep it going down the road well. And it's a totally different experience, and it gives me a whole new appreciation for guys like Steve McQueen that are, you know, and Carroll Shelby ripping around in these kind of things at crazy speeds, jumping hills in San Francisco, and I'd be terrified. Like, I mean, those guys just, I mean, they had an amazing amount of courage and bravery. It was just amazing what they were able to do in that stuff, because I can't imagine doing that kind of stuff in this. I mean, you know, I'm going around corners here, and I'm like mentally preparing myself for each one, because it handles it okay. It's just, you have to go about it completely differently, and it's crazy though, because there are so many things. I'm driving down the road in this car, and I'm looking forward, and it feels so familiar to the Mustang that I have, of course. It's just, I feel like I'm in almost kind of the same car, just separated by a few years, even though it's actually 48 to be exact. But it's a crazy feeling, and it goes to show you just how much of the true spirit of the originals is in the new ones. And I really finally just got that now after experiencing the original. It really gave me an appreciation for the new ones and for the old ones. But I have even more respect now for, you know, these people that raced these things back then, and, you know, were flying around this kind of stuff. It's just, it's crazy to think about. It handles it well though, you know, I gotta say, the suspension is definitely on the cushier, floaty side, but I mean, that's great because it's a wonderful weekend cruiser. But then if you're, you know, trying to, you know, drive it a little bit more spiritedly, it actually does dance with you. It does keep up with it, and it's okay with it. You just have to know how to do it, and, you know, kind of, you know, don't be stupid with it, and it'll still have fun with you. So it's just so cool. I've been wanting to drive an old Mustang ever since I could drive, honestly. So this is a really amazing experience to me. This is a car I don't even want to talk while driving. I just want to, like, enjoy driving. It's just, it puts you in this relaxed state, even though, like I said, it's a little nerve-wracking with, you know, trying to steer and brake smoothly and all that kind of stuff. But once you get used to it, it's so relaxing. You know, you don't have to worry about the speed or anything. You just pay attention to just the road and just everything around you. It's just so visceral and makes you feel alive. It's great. So yeah, but huge thanks to Brogan for hooking me up again with this awesome opportunity. Such a cool car, and you know, I reviewed this and a Dodge Challenger Hellcat in the same day, which are polar opposites, but super cool in their own ways. And it's one awesome car. I love this thing, and I hope to own one myself one day. So I was very appreciative to him to let me review this, and let me know what you guys think about this, whether you like the whole idea of vintage car reviews, and who knows, maybe I'll have some other owners offer some of their vintage metal as well. And it's so cool, and I'd love to bring you guys more of this stuff, because it really It's just a whole different type of motoring experience that I think everyone can appreciate and everyone should experience at some point in their lives. If you're a true petrol head, you gotta check out the classic stuff at some point. It's just so cool. Anyway, so thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care.